How's it going, everybody? It's Ryan here. Got a really good video to talk about something interesting, or at least interesting, might be interesting to you if you're a personal trainer or thinking about being a coach, or maybe you're just interested in hearing a really cool story. So it's story time. Haven't told a story on my channel for a little while, and I thought I'd share one with you in my own personal life story as a personal trainer. About my first year getting hired as a personal trainer at 24 Hour Fitness. So I've been around for a while, training people one-on-one, working primarily in a big box gym. And I remember my interview, I was 19 years old, maybe I was 18, 2001. I think I was actually 18, I think. Anyways, well, I was going to get interviewed over at a 24 Hour Fitness in Fairfield. And I was being interviewed by Josh. Josh is a fitness manager at the time. I'm pretty sure he still works there. And it was quite interesting. I went to interview with a collar shirt. I think it was red, burgundy. And I was actually about 235 pounds. And you can imagine I was pretty chubby, and I wasn't really lifting weights for very long. I did lose a good amount of weight from football, but I don't think I looked fit at all. And I think he was just kind of, I wonder how I even got hired, because I was definitely not in shape. I did not look in shape. I mean, by any means, I was probably fit enough, but definitely what I did express and how I got hired, I know for a fact, was because I was very eager. The funny little fact about how I got hired, or how my interview went, was that what happened? I wore these fake glasses. That's why I'm laughing. I wore these fake glasses so I would appear smarter. This is back in 2001. This is just after September 11th. This is October, September, just after. Actually, it wasn't September. That's crazy. Maybe a week after the planes hit the buildings. Anyways, I get hired, but the process at 24 Hour Fitness was that you had to take a pretest. So you had to study this manual, and actually, I still have the book. I wonder if I could find it. Anyways, it's an anatomy book, and you had to basically know the insertions and origins. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm fairly decent with anatomy, because that's the first thing I learned when it came to fitness, was insertions and origins. Even though I didn't really understand what they were for or how to use them, I just knew that that's something I had to know to pass the pretest. And then if I passed the pretest, I would go to personal training school. Back then it was called Personal Training University, 24 Hour Fitness University. They had a program called Accelerated Results, and basically they had two programs: straight personal training, and then they had Accelerated Results. And the whole purpose of why they had two different programs is because they were trying to distinguish one type of personal training that came with a menu plan and a program, and one that was just straight personal training. Anyways, I get hired, and like I said, one of the reasons why I think I got hired was because I was very eager. Probably he was sort of in a bind to hire trainers so that way they can make sales. And I think it was his first, maybe his second I believe it was a second gym club running as a fitness director. And Fairfield 24 Fitness at the time used to be like the old Safeway. It was a kind of a shithole, honestly. It was kind of like a gym that no district manager really wanted to go to. We'd hardly get any like high level visits. We'd still get some, but not very often, simply because it was not that big of a grossing gym. It was still important, of course, but generally when you are upper level management for any chain, typically, you're gonna spend more time on the gyms or the facilities that generate most of your nut, or your goal in that case. Anyways, that's just my theory anyway. I could be making shit up for all I know, and just could be all my failed perception of things. But anyways, so I make it to 24 Hour Fitness Personal Training School, and I get there, right? And it was great. It was probably the one of my most favorite experiences as a personal trainer, because before I had no other experience with fitness education other than Muscle Fitness magazine and the internet. And at the time, 2001, the internet was sort of like, it was weird when it came to learning about fitness. And I remember I did the Atkins Diet, and they had this big old dissertation of stuff about why the Atkins Diet was bad for you and how you shouldn't follow it. It's just water loss. It's all about calorie deficit and stuff. And anyways, it was sort of interesting because, there's so many different personalities. This place was jam-packed of people. personal training school, there was rows. There had to be over at least 100 people there, maybe 80. I don't know. Felt like 100. And the funny thing is, at the time, I was in network marketing. And sort of a side note, I hate network marketing. It's I'll make a separate video on that. I fucking hate network marketing. So, anyways, if you love network marketing, you probably want to shut off this video anyway. And I don't even want you to subscribe to my channel if you are a network marketing and love affair. Anyway, so what happened was I got to the school and I met a lot of really motivating people. And when I say motivating, these corporate heads. Anthony Crisco, who is not with the company anymore, was really a really big influence on my career. He was not only was he really educated, he was very enthusiastic. He had this energy, this arrogance, cockiness. I don't know, just really just confidence, that sort of energy that I wanted. And he was a district manager for the area I was in, and he was sort of someone I looked up to. Another person too that I first met first exposure was to Eric Jenkins. Eric Jenkins unfortunately passed in a car accident about a year after I was hired. Unfortunately, he was one of the most motivational guys you can ever meet, and that's kind of one of the cool things about working for an organization. Every organization is going to have its pros and cons, and we're just talking about business. And generally, businesses that grow typically have good people in them. If they've been running for a while, they have people that run ethically. Of course, there's always going to be some sort of shadiness everywhere, every now and again, but understand that there's always going to be good and bad. As a company grows, there's going to be positives and negatives, and you just kind of have to deal with it. But anyways, my point is that I had such a profound influence on I was so inspired. I wanted to work for the company. I wanted to be there, and it was pretty interesting. So personal training school is 4 days, right? There's a fifth day you take a test. Well, on the fifth day there was actually this really big special event for my network marketing company I was in. The name of the network marketing company is called 2by2.net. You can Google them. They've been shut down because they're a scam. Anyways, what happened next? I thought I could just come back, right? But I just go to the just take the test, and then I later found out that it turns out that I was an idiot. This is what happens when you're 18. You don't fucking know what you're doing. I told my manager basically wanted to fire me, wanted to shit can me, right? And that's sort of what happened. I saved my job by emailing Eric Jenkins. Eric Jenkins is the senior vice president of fitness, basically very high level management. And it's so funny because it created this really weird working situation at the gym. It's almost like I wasn't supposed to be there, or sort of felt like. And it's not necessarily, it was essentially like I was out of shape, or I didn't look like I was in shape. I was chubby, I didn't have any athletic ability. Of course, that sort of doesn't really matter, but the point was I had a manager where I went over his head to save my ass. And I don't know exactly what happened in the background, but I do know my job was a little harder than it could have been or should have been. Anyways, my point is that I persevered, and I was able to make a career out of it, and get promoted, and more to come. I'll talk more about those stories in case you're interested. But needless to say, it was freaking a hell of a battle, or just hell of an experience. This is what happens when you're 18. You kind of don't know what you're doing, and you're just kind of just having some fun, I guess. The one thing I do want to say, when I first got hired, when I first got to train my first client, sell my first package, I was so excited. I just remember feeling so awkward. Training people one-on-one is I guess another side story. One of the things that I like about training people one-on-one, why it didn't make me feel as nervous, was that I did a lot of card. I was a nerd. Not only did I play Magic, I also performed card magic. Jeff McBride, if you know who that is, David Copperfield, David Blaine, Lance Burton, that kind of stuff, right? I did magic tricks as a kid, right? I actually did like 2 or 3 magic shows, and it's sort of funny because it felt like it fit well with personal training because it's one-on-one, and that's what I liked about. That's kind of made it easy for me at first, but as things kind of came along, what was interesting was that I would, like right now I'm sweating, and when I would train a client, I would sweat. And I thought it was because I was a little overweight or I just naturally sweated. But actually what it was is I was really, really nervous. I also had really long hair and I used to put a shitload of gel in my hair. Hopefully I can find it. One day I'll find a picture. It's pretty hilarious. And I remember being, I would sweat. We used to wear these purple shirts with a collar on it. You look like Barney. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I would train people. And I got, I built the business. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of struggles. I remember my first 3 weeks, I worked many days in a row, which you're not supposed to do, but I did. And it was so hard for me to sell training. It was the most difficult thing for me to do, and it took me a really long time before I actually got the hang of things. And when I did train people, I was nervous, I would sweat. Anyways, it was crazy. If you can imagine having a manager that you went over their head, like upper levels, and you weren't even supposed to be there because of some decisions that you made, well, some poor decisions. Anyways, that was sort of my first experience back in 2001 in October when I was first hired. I went to personal training school, went to San Ramon. I met a lot of pretty interesting people. I don't know. Just kind of takes me back, just reminds me being a kid, I had no kids. I lived at home. I didn't have I actually did have a car, but it was crazy. Anyways, that's my video. That's at least the first part of this series in case you're interested. If you are interested, leave a comment below and I'll make another video in the future. And I'll talk more about my first year as a personal trainer.